Hi, this is Amy Lewis, Cisco Marketing, and we're here today on Engineers Unplugged, and we have some very special guests. We've got Gina Minks, and we've got Joel McKelvey, and we're going to be talking about transformation. Data center moves really fast. They're going to be taking us up and down the chain, the business processes, the IT, all about transformation. I'm looking forward to this conversation, so Gina, take it away.
All right, thank you. So I know we've been talking about this, about transformation in an organization, and just so we can kind of ground this, let's say, for example, we're talking about a hospital that needs to transform what they're doing so they go faster, do better. This is typically what we'll see in a kind of IT environment for a hospital. Have servers going through their fabrics to their storage to serve up data. What's some of the physical, virtual transformation they'd go through?
Yeah, so this makes a lot of sense, right? This is a standard data center, right? But as let's say this hospital is going to have to refresh their servers, they're going to have to refresh their storage or something. They don't want to do it the way they used to do it. It makes no sense to just rebuild this old infrastructure with faster, newer ones. There's new paradigm in town, right? Which is a transformed, virtualized data center, and we've been talking about this. But your organization, my organization, this is core to what we're doing, and so I think the first step here is this transformation of wrapping this in what we call almost a semantically null statement here, cloud, right? So what is that? I mean, it's a management wrapper, it's an automation wrapper, it's a looking at this as a single system instead of as individual components, right? And you're still spending time managing the elements, but you're managing it as a whole. But this transformation in the data center has ramifications outside the data center, right? And in a hospital, these ramifications are incredibly important because you've got issues of security and compliance and people's lives on the line as well.
So let's write it up. So if we think of the people at a hospital who would be impacted by this, first of all, I think of IT. Then there's someone that is in charge of all the medical stuff, right? So like the chief medical officer, is that what it'd be?
Yeah.
Then we'd have the people that are in charge of the finance, so put finance.
Mm-hmm.
Then with a hospital, especially in the U.S., we have things like HIPAA. If it's a research hospital, we'll have things like HIPAA. We'll have things. If a research hospital, it'll be the FDA will require compliance. So we'll put compliance officer. And in addition to the medical compliance, we'd also have PCI if they're taking payments over the web, that kind of thing. But so what happens if IT has to move from this physical environment to this highly fast-moving, virtual, cost-effective environment? They may get it. They may think this is a great idea, but what happens if they go and talk to some of these other people? What's some of the problems and challenges that they're going to come across if they start talking about changing everything that everybody has processes for?
I like the way you asked that question, as if you weren't just schooling me on this 5 minutes ago. I mean, really, the one we're missing here is the patient, right? And these are the people who will accidentally die if we don't do this properly. But also, the underlying goals of the hospital are excellent patient care, excellent patient outcomes, being able to discharge those patients more rapidly so they can get home to their families more quickly. All that drives profitability and financial stability in the hospital. But you talked about all these different organizations that have to undergo some form of transformation. I think that there's a creative tension in this organization or other organizations around transformation. A classic one would be, let's say, the chief medical officer who would be setting medical policy for the hospital, wants access to medical records, wants access to all those deep personal HIPAA items that they may not be able to share legally out with the general world, whereas the compliance officer wants them hidden away someplace really safe. So you have a creative tension here. You have patients wanting these really positive outcomes. You have patients wanting to be comfortable in the hospital and feel as though they're really getting the care that they want. And we need to do that at a price that makes sense. So you have a creative tension between these organizations. And so all in all, this transformation of the cloud, as an IT manager, as someone who drives IT, there's a couple of things you want to do. You want to elevate yourself to the level of these business decision makers. So you want IT to be playing in the overall governance of the hospital. And you want what you do with this to benefit each one of your constituents in a very, very positive manner, in a way that's going to be making difference to the fundamental performance indicators that make a hospital, live or die.
So is there anything we're forgetting on this? Because we know that there's going to be this, you're calling it creative tension, but it's oftentimes not a creative tension. It's oftentimes going to be straight out battles where people dig in. And if we're talking about people, of course, the main people we're talking about are the patients. We want them to be comfortable, but there's also people and personalities and politics on top of doing it at a good price and doing it the best way from a medical standpoint and following all of the requirements. So there's also and I think that's industry-wide, no matter where we're looking at that transformation. So more things to keep in mind besides just the physical, moving from where the ones and zeros are, getting to physical and making them available to everyone.
Yeah, so this is engineering unplugged, right? This isn't management organizational theory unplugged. But I will tell you that now today in our industry, due to advances by your company, my company, Cisco, cloud providers, we now have the ability to meet these needs better than we ever have had before. And I think it's really compelling to say that by virtualizing this boring to some, engineering-focused component of the business to some, we make patients happier, and we're more compliant, and we're more profitable, and we have better patient outcomes. And that's really key.
It's very funny that you mentioned it's an engineering unplugged, and it has nothing to do with the people and the engineering process of that, because if you have all these great ideas for engineering and you don't ground them in reality, it turns into this.
You planned ahead.
This beautiful rainbow story with...
Wait, hold on.
A pot of gold.
Wait. And big fluffy tail and some legs.
And a unicorn.
There we go.
I really have to start getting dumber guests for Engineers Unplugged because this keeps happening. I'm getting outsmarted repeatedly. This was a really interesting conversation. I did have a question. I'm listening in and I'm thinking, what do you think, what about the transformation of IT's role in partnership with these businesses? Have you seen that even in your IT careers, how our industry is changing how we partner?
I think I did DevOps before it was called DevOps, because if you didn't work with the people that were developing whatever needed to go out, it didn't go live. And I think that there's a huge transformation that's happened where this is more programmatic, where people understand that there are these creative differences between teams, and they know that to make things happen and to make things happen fast and to make it at a good price and to satisfy the customers, that IT has to get up to that level of everybody else.
So what do you think, Joel?
Well, I think that we've seen a change in the relevance of the CIO in businesses like hospitals or finance or even government, right? These CIOs are becoming, in some cases, profit centers based on their ability to deliver. They're certainly reducing their costs, and they're becoming more relevant. They're getting a seat at the table. They used to be like the people who managed your printers, right? Okay, so they're also going to manage my email, right? And we as engineers now have this amazing opportunity, because the state of the art in the industry today is everybody's got their smartphone and their pad, and they understand that we as engineers are now able to deliver something that has just never been able to be delivered to business before. It's super exciting.
Well, there you go. To prevent unicornization, bring in your engineers. That's what we've learned today on Engineers Unplugged. So great episode. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Joel. Unicorns faster here on Engineers Unplugged. We'll see you next time.